It cannot produce righteousness, so it can produce wickedness. Hallelujah. So if someone, we feel that we are Christians, we are the followers of Christ, but we find ourselves suffering from temper, we must be very worried. Sometimes anger can push away your destiny helpers. Yes, even those people that have offended you, even those people that have mistreated you, sometimes their offense is necessary. Sometimes some enemies are necessary for your life. God permits them. They are necessary enemies that God has permitted. The enemies of Joseph were from his father's household. They were necessary. If it wasn't for those enemies, those brothers of Joseph, hating Joseph with passion, enough to want to kill him, Joseph wouldn't receive his promotion. Then we look at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. If it wasn't for King Nebuchadnezzar throwing them in the furnace of fire, the power of God or the authority of God would not have been discovered. The fourth man wouldn't appear, and then King Nebuchadnezzar knew that the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is the true God. And then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were honored. Sometimes some of our enemies are necessary. King Potiphar's wife, who has falsely accused Joseph of rape, she was a necessary enemy, so that Joseph can be connected to his destiny helper, King Pharaoh. Because this is where he made the divine connection to end up being the prime minister in Egypt. So this false accusation, God used it for a divine connection. Judas was a necessary enemy. If Judas did not betray him, then God's plan for the cross, for the people to be free from the power of sin and him to be glorified, wouldn't have happened. So we have to ask God the grace to help us to be able to identify these necessary enemies instead of being provoked to anger. Because anger oftentimes it interferes or it tempers with God's process to promote us. It tempers with God's process to uplift us or to push us into our destiny. If it wasn't for that witch coming after you, you wouldn't be knowing Jesus today. Do not be provoked to anger. Anger always interferes with the process of God in promoting us. Just imagine if he could have acted out of anger, maybe he decided to kill them. How would he end up in Egypt? How would the Israelites or the remnant of Israel be saved from famine that was coming to Canaan? How would the plan of God to bring Jesus Christ to this earth through David be fulfilled? So let us refuse to be provoked to anger. Anger is always a demon. Why? You know someone who acts out of anger, they don't think. They don't necessarily do something that will be beneficial tomorrow. They just do something now just to feed maybe their ego or pride. They just want to do something to satisfy themselves now, and after they regret. Why do you regret? If what you did, it was actually your will, why do you regret after doing what you have done? It shows that something else took over. So something takes over when somebody is angry. Hallelujah. is a prayer point that most Christians just neglect. They will pray for everything, but they will never pray to say, God help